What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast as we continue in our off-season series where we go through and we grade every single move that your team has made, be it through free agency, be coaching changes, and the draft. We tie it all up at the end with a grade for you guys to let you know what we think just about their offseason. Again, this isn't a reflection on their roster as a whole and how good I think they're going to be. It's just on what they've done this offseason and how they've built this roster. Today's team, we're going to be talking about Addison's Chicago Bears. As usual, we're going to start with coaching changes, and I think arguably this is the biggest upgrade for the Bears, arguably within the entire NFL when it comes to coaches and coaching staff. To fire Matt Eberflus midseason, to be fair, I said it last year. I loved everything about what the Bears had done, except they needed to fire Eberflus going into last season. They didn't. Instead, they did it a few games into the season after the wheels had completely fallen off, and you just wasted a year of Caleb Williams' rookie contract and a young team. They go out, they get the shiniest toy, the nicest coordinator they could get in Ben Johnson. They pay him top dollar to bring him in to be the new head coach, the new offensive guru, to team him up with Caleb Williams, and you hope for their career. And I love that hire. I think that is swinging for the fences, and I have no problem with teams that swing for the fences. I love it. And I really like the defensive coordinator he brought in, Dennis Allen. Nope, not a great head coach, but those Saints defenses were always solid at the very least. This is like Dennis Allen. If Matt Eberflus should have this position, a defensive coordinator. Defensive coaches in the league struggle, man. It's just the way the NFL is right now. But Dennis Allen, I think, is going to be a really good coordinator for them. He runs a similar system to Eberflus, so I don't see a ton of fall off for the Bears defense, which wasn't bad last year by any means. So I think this is a huge upgrade for them. And then we get into free agency and what they did here. They added Joe Thuney via trade from the Chiefs, added Jonah Jackson on a 3-year, $52.5 million contract, and added the best center in free agency in Drew Dahlman on a 3-year, $42 million contract, and they didn't lose anybody, except for future Hall of Famer Larry Borum. Now that he's a Dolphin, I think he's going to be probably the best tackle in the NFL, but that's neither here nor there. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't lose anybody of note. This offense overall is significantly improved. The Bears took what was probably a bottom 5 unit in the league on their offensive line. I mean, they had, one guy last year that you could point to and say, yeah, he's solid, and Darnell Wright. He's solid. Now Darnell Wright is their arguably their fourth best offensive lineman. That's fantastic. I think they've turned this unit around completely. I think this is a potentially top 5, top 6 unit in the NFL. It's fantastic what he's done. They obviously are going to be hoping for health. Jonah Jackson's missed a ton of time. Joe Thuney's getting up there in age. But, man, this starting line on paper looks formidable, and I love what they did. I love how Ben Johnson said, listen, this worked in Detroit. It can work here too. I love that. Going over to the defensive side of the ball, 2 key or major kind of additions for them I've got here. Dayo Odeyingbo on a 3-year, $48 million contract, and Grady Jarrett on a 3-year, we'll call it, $43 million contract as well, and no key pieces lost again. Defense obviously improved. I really like the addition of Grady Jarrett, just as an anchor in the middle of the defensive line, as a veteran leader on what is a relatively young football team. I don't think he's got, the juice of a prime Grady Jarrett, but he's only, 32 years old? It's not like he's ancient, and he's not Calais Campbell's age. He's still got something in the tank. Obviously, they paid him to have something still in that tank, so I like that addition. I've been really positive this video about the Bears. The only knock against them here is I think they overpaid for Odeyingbo. I do. I mean, $16 million a year I know is not crazy in this day and age, and he is only 25 years old, so you're getting him as he's just entering his prime. So you're hoping that he can improve, but $16 million a year for a guy that only had 4 sacks last season seems like you're really hoping he takes a big step. That's all I can say about it, is you really hope that you're paying him to take that next step. Talking about their draft, 2 main guys I want to mention here are their first and second round picks, Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. I don't hate their other second round pick of Ozzie Trapillo, by the way. He's just not expected to play a role right away. I thought he was a little bit earlier than he probably should have gone. I had him more as a 3rd, 4th round guy, but that's neither here nor there. I love their first 2 picks. I know that them taking Colston Loveland was kind of a shock for everybody. It's like, why didn't they take Tyler Warren? It doesn't, just because you may like Tyler Warren more as a prospect doesn't mean Colston Loveland is not a very, very good tight end prospect. Arguably the best hands of all the tight ends from this class. And Kmet is going to play that true inline tight end role definitely this season. I don't know about going forward, but for sure this season. That's going to free up Colston Loveland to move around the formation and create mismatches, and Ben Johnson is going to love having that as an option. Having a guy that's too big for corners or safeties to probably cover effectively and too fast for your average linebackers to cover, that's what you want. Look how well it worked for Brock Bowers. I'm not saying Colston Loveland's Brock Bowers, but I see the vision, right? I get it. And then Luther Bird in the second round. He's one of my favorite receivers in the entire draft class, and you get him in the second round. That is an unbelievable steal. That is one of, if not the biggest steal of the entire draft. He is an exceptional route runner, and you just get the ball in this dude's hands, and he is going to cause problems. I'm moving past his 2024 tape. I've seen what he can be. That's what I need to see from you in college. I've seen what you can be, and Luther Burden can be an elite wide receiver. I trust him to rediscover that form, especially as a guy who's not going to be counted on to be the entire offense like he was in Missouri. Luther Burden's coming in to be wide receiver 3 behind DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. You're going to get probably the best matchups at that. I think he's going to be fantastic, and I love that pick as well. I'm really excited to see how he fits into this offense, honestly. So really like their draft, especially mainly their first 2 picks here. Now let's start looking at this depth chart and find the holes. Now, looking at this roster, it's solid, guys. The Bears have done a really, really good job, especially when you look at how it was built last year and some of the issues you may have had with it were the offensive line, especially on the interior. It's like, okay, well, we fixed that. They didn't really address running back. I don't love DeAndre Swift. I really wish they would have used their other second-round pick on one of the running backs remaining at that time. And I think that would have really just elevated this offense to another level. But when I really look at it and I find their big glaring hole, it's got to be pass rusher. It's got to be the pass rusher. Who on this defensive line is going to put fear into opposing quarterbacks that you have to game plan for? Who's that guy that's going to get double-digit sacks? Who's the guy that can be a game wrecker on your defensive line? I'm sorry, it's not going to be Dayo Odeyingbo and his 4 sacks from this past year. So are we just banking on Montez Sweat becoming an elite pass rusher at this point in his career at 28 years old, coming off of a 6-sack season? Are we completely banking on that? I don't love that. I don't love that. If you can't get home with 4 ever because you don't have the guys to do it, it makes it harder to play good, effective defense because you have to take someone out of that back 7 and move them up just to try and get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So I really wish that they had also found a pass rusher. Again, I love their first 2 picks. I love getting the weapons. And this is just a hole that they could fill next year. They could fill in the next offseason. Who knows? And maybe Odeyingbo comes out and he puts up 10 sacks this year and shuts me up. Very, very possible. He's only 25 years old. But that is, if I'm going to poke a hole in this depth chart, it's without a doubt pass rusher. Overall, this offseason, like I've said multiple times, I find it's really hard for me to find things that the Bears did this offseason that I don't like. They went out and got the best coach possible. They built a wall in front of their young quarterback who was under duress all season last year. And they added 2 really good young weapons for him and let Keenan Allen go, saving themselves a ton of money, by the way. So they bring in Luther Burden, they bring in Colston Loveland to go along with DJ Moore and a second-year Rome Odunze, who hopefully can pick up this offense and be better than he was as a rookie. I love what they've done. If the Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson tandem is going to work, if this is going to be one that we're like, wow, what a duo, we should start to see things happen a little bit this season. Now, does that mean I think that they're going to make a deep playoff run? I'm not saying that. And if you want to hear about that, you'll have to wait until August when we do all of our division predictions and our huge video before the season starts. But as far as this offseason goes, I find it really hard to poke holes in what the Bears have done, and I'm very, very impressed. Ryan Poles has done a very good job of building a roster that on paper looks like they're ready to compete, man. And one of, if not the hardest division in all of football, they stack up pretty well. They're getting there. I really like what I'm seeing. Bears fans, you guys should be excited, without a doubt. So that's all I've got for, final offseason grade for them, kind of important. They get an A. They get the highest grade I've given out, and I think maybe it's the highest grade I'm going to give out. But like I said, if they had added an elite pass rusher, not even an elite pass rusher, but just like, say they added Chase Young, someone that has that elite upside that hasn't totally found it, it's an A+. But I just don't see a pass rusher yet, so I'm going to give them an A and say there's really only one thing they could have done to get that A+, and they just didn't do it, and that's okay. So an A for the Chicago Bears. Well done. Ryan Poles and company, you have done a fantastic job building this roster. Let's see what happens. So that's all I've got for you guys in today's video. We'll see you guys in the next one.